Happy New Year, everyone! Welcome back to the monthly portfolio update. As usual, I hope you'll find this information useful, but disclaimer, please note that this is not investing advice. It's just my portfolio as it stands on Sunday, January 1st, 2023, and it can change at any time without previous notification. Following an investment strategy without doing the work yourself is almost guaranteed to result in losses. So, please be careful since it's your responsibility to do your own research before investing. Super excited about today's video. We will discuss the portfolio performance for the concluding year 2022, measured against some relevant benchmarks, and check out the best and worst investments, as well as talk a bit about what I'm expecting from 2023. But let's start as usual by discussing last month's activity. In December 2022, I bought some more Romanian sovereign bonds denominated in euro with a yield of 3.7% for 2 years and denominated in RON, the Romanian currency, yielding 7.65% for 1 year and 8% for 3 years. It's a bit different than the other bonds that I already own, called Tezaur, a little bit less yield, about 25 basis points, but they are listed and they can be sold at any time, as opposed to the others that can only be redeemed at expiration date. I made this move because next year in July, one of the main Tezaur issues will start reaching maturity and return a significant sum of money. At least significant for me. I am switching a bit from a bullet to a ladder bond strategy, meaning investing smaller sums at different maturities in order to somewhat be able to take advantage of market downturns. Also, this month, I started to dollar cost average small sums on different sectors. First, the tech sector, mainly US companies. Even though it will take a while to get up again, I think it's starting to look a bit underpriced, which doesn't mean it can go even lower, but it's interesting. So I bought some Google, Amazon, a little bit of Tesla, Shopify, and UiPath. Secondly, I bought a little bit more Bitcoin. Now, this is a gamble. I'm not sure if crypto brings the value that it's supposed to bring, but also I'm not sure it's not gonna be the next big thing. So I'm not convinced on it, but I bought a little bit more Bitcoin. Lastly, since most of my time was spent this month in analyzing the real estate and agriculture sectors in Romania, I added to the watch list 2 companies, one called DN Agrar, which is of course an agricultural company, and the second one, which is a high-end real estate company in Bucharest, mostly. I think these 2 sectors should perform over the long term really well. In terms of cash flow, I only got a small extraordinary / unplanned dividend this month from my transportation company called Aquila, which gave about 4.2% dividend from the current price, which is actually less for me, just under 3%, since the purchase price is about 30% higher than the current price. That's not great, but it is what it is. I was also expecting an equally small, around 1.3% dividend from the S&P 500 index that I own for Q4, but it didn't come in time. Hopefully, early January, I will see it come in as well. And that was about it for the cash flow for the year 2022. But next year, I'm expecting some decent inflows from the Romanian sovereign bonds that I own. In January, I should receive 1 coupon. And as mentioned before, in July, I will get another coupon as well as a hefty principal, which, spoiler alert, I plan to reinvest in stocks if they will go down in Q1 or Q2, as I expect them to do. Anyways, this is my current portfolio as of January 1st, 2023. Overall, the current invested portfolio is up 4.25% since last month, which is not bad, but still 7.8% down overall. The whole portfolio, on the other hand, is slightly positive, with 0.95, so let's call it 1% for the year, with an estimated 4.6% cash flow for 2022, but minus living expenses, which was somewhere around 6.6%. The goal, of course, is for the cash flow to be over the living expenses. You might wonder, how is the portfolio app if cash flow is below living expenses? That doesn't make any sense. And that is because of the velocity of the cash flow. Basically, most of the cash flow came in the first part of the year and was thus reinvested in assets, which grew a little bit to cause the approximately 3% difference in numbers. This is not something to write home about, but we'll see a bit later how it compared to some relevant benchmark in 2022. Anyways, now the allocation pyramid is as follows. You can see a significant decrease in cash, which went mostly into tradable bonds, and the start of the DCA program, DCA meaning dollar cost averaging that I mentioned before. So let's look at how the pyramid portfolio performed over the year. And if you want to learn more, the video explaining the asset allocation is in the description below. If you like the video and you want more like this, please like, comment and subscribe. It really helps with the algo. For the whole year, the return was the mentioned 0.95%, let's call it 1%. Not great, not terrible for the year that we had, but let's see how it stacks against some benchmarks. The first one is the BET, which is the Romanian index, the S&P 500, also some returns of bonds and inflation. Since I have no leverage, this is called the alpha for the portfolio, meaning the value produced either by luck or skill by the investment manager, which is yours truly, and it reflects the value of the effort put in. But as the saying goes, even a blind dog can find a bone from time to time, so in order to really measure if it's luck or skill, the portfolio returns need to be monitored for a long period of time. So we have this return, 1%, actually 0.95, compared to the S&P 500 index, which is minus 19.44%, and the BET index, which is the Romanian stock exchange index, which is minus 10%. Now, we also compare this with bonds, which as an estimation in Romania as of December 2021 is 5%. Also, we have an estimated minus 0.25% for the Eurozone and an estimated 1.5% return for the United States. Of course, it depends on the bond strategy that you employed, barbell, ladder, etc. Since technically you could have better returns for next year if you caught better yields. But this is not really reliable. Next, let's compare it with the inflation numbers, and these are estimated since the final 2022 numbers did not come out at the time of this video, but I assume that they will be somewhere in the ballpark. As mentioned before, I don't put much focus on inflation. I will probably do a video later explaining why, so I think these numbers, while not the exact numbers, they reflect the truth relatively well. Next, let's talk about the 3 worst investments of 2022. First is Alibaba, the Chinese tech company. While I still love this company, it's clearly that I underestimated the impact of politics. And even though Chinese stocks look much better right now, it was still my biggest mistake for the year. Next is gold. Surprisingly, not a hedge against inflation in 2022. It didn't necessarily have a big drop in price, but the thesis was plainly not true. Ray Dalio explains very well the economic versus financial systems interactions, and it seems like the people that have the money also make the rules. So the taunted intrinsic value of gold and being a hedge against inflation is simply not there. The third failure is Solana. And here the failure is the fact that I didn't analyze sufficiently and frankly wasn't aware of the fact that FTX was pumping Solana up. My thesis was that it was one of the backbones of the newly minting NFTs with Ethereum as well, but it was much relatively newer. Next, let's talk about the 3 best investments of 2022. First, of course, is Nuclear Electrica, and this one will probably be engraved on my gravestone, since I'm telling it to everyone who wants to listen and a lot of people that don't. Basically, the play was selling Nuclear Electrica and buying it back much lower after the prices dropped due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This was at a time when the financial papers were writing that weak investors sold and smart money bought. This investment is described in more detail in the April 1st video, see link right here. But I have to mention that to every investment there is an yin and yang, so even though it was a great trade at the time, there are still questions looming, like the impact of an extra energy tax coming from the Romanian government, the high research and development costs in the next years, etc. But the thesis was right, so this is by far my best trade, and actually only trade of 2022. Next, I have Transgas, which is by far my biggest bet, and it was bittersweet through 2020 and actually underperforming in 2021, but this year it bought a significant dividend, and also it is starting to become positive in my portfolio. So these two combined, it actually had a great value to my portfolio. And the third one is the altcoins, especially the learn and earn programs that the major transacting platforms have put through in 2022, which brings both education and free money. So to be honest, I have way better performing investments like 20% plus that did this year, but I chose the altcoins program since I think they are better long term. At least I hope that will be the case. Next, let's talk about the 3 lessons that I learned in 2022. The first one, and by far the most important one, is that nobody really knows what the future is bringing. Secondly, even if the cash flow is below my liabilities in 2022, it actually looks like I will be able to do this long term. And the third one, even though it's a little bit more esoteric, is that I really love this stuff. And if you don't love it as an individual investor, there are way better ways to capture value, like investing in indexes, you doing long-term dollar cost averaging, choosing investment managers, etc. As the last thing, I want to talk to you about my 2022 expectation. But first, if you clicked on this video to hear this part, I think you're missing the whole point, because no one knows what the future will bring, but here is my reluctant 10 cents. My expectations for 2023 is a slightly worse environment. However, as I mentioned before, in July I will get my bonds principal, which is a significant liquidity event for me, and hopefully buy some depreciated stocks. That being said, the market is usually forward-looking, so even if there will be economic problems in 2023, there is a strong chance for the market to rally in the second half of the year on prospective good news ahead. This, of course, is by no means sure, and this is why I do small buys, also known as the dollar cost averaging, every month, so I catch some of the lower prices, especially in the tech sectors that already dropped significantly. My recommendation for next year would be to have some cash and have strong nerves in 2023, no matter what you do. Of course, This doesn't really take into account a potential black swan event like the starting of a new world war, a new pandemic, systemic trouble, etc., which basically makes the prediction very close to worthless. In the end, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments how did your portfolio do in 2022. If you outperformed mine, if you didn't, if you have any questions, etc. Have a great year in investing and talk to you next month. Bye.